The most controversial alien video on the internet refuses to behave like a hoax. For decades, everyone wrote off the 1991 alien interview footage as an obvious fake. But when you actually break down the constraints of how it was made, the hoax theory completely falls apart. We are living in a post-internet world where former presidents and intelligence officials are openly discussing non-human intelligence. Because the cultural context has shifted, we have to look back at the artifacts we dismissed. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, dismissing this footage was easy. The cultural environment was full of sensationalism, so writing it off was just the default posture. But that conclusion was inherited from the vibe of the era, not reached through actual analysis. When you look at the facts, things get weird. Let us start with the source, a guy who called himself Victor. Hoaxers usually want fame, money, or to push an ideology. Victor wanted none of that. He demanded absolute anonymity, dropped the tape off at a second-tier production company, and completely disappeared. That is terrible behavior for a hoaxer. Then there is the physical entity itself. Special effects legends from the 90s have looked at this and cannot figure out how it was built. There is no latex creasing under the arms, which is a dead giveaway for foam animatronics. The mouth moves instantly without servo lag, and the micro movements of the head and neck are incredibly subtle. To fake this in 1991 would have required massive funding, custom engineering, and a massive team. But the biggest problem with the hoax theory is the staging. If you are making a fake video to convince people of aliens, you make it dramatic. This video is the exact opposite. It is slow, administrative, and boring. The camera is fixed. There are no reaction shots. It looks exactly like internal bureaucratic documentation. Even the medical monitor next to the entity makes no sense for a hoax. Biomedical engineers and NASA veterans have analyzed the screen, and nobody can identify the machine. It does not match any known human diagnostic system. If you are faking a video, you just grab a standard hospital heart monitor. You do not invent a completely bespoke, unrecognizable machine for zero payoff. Then there is the classification language. The video is marked DNI 27. In the early 90s, DNI was an obscure, highly compartmentalized military designation, not something a civilian could just look up on the internet. The number 27 aligns with a Yankee white access warning, which is tied to presidential-level clearance. These are internal procedural stop signs meant to restrict access, not flashy labels meant to impress a public audience. Finally, there is the human factor. Hoaxers hide faces to avoid getting caught. This video shows the human participants plainly, introducing massive personal risk. Years later, an investigator actually tracked down the widow of one of the men in the room. Her husband had always been secretive about his military work, even with his peers. When she saw the footage, she was not shocked. She pointed right at the screen and positively identified her husband. None of this proves the footage is authentic. It does not confirm the origin of the entity or prove the government is hiding aliens. But what it does do is establish a massive set of constraints that any explanation has to satisfy. Individually, these details are weird. Together, they form a consistent pattern that a hoax explanation simply struggles to cover. This footage sacrifices clarity, recognition, and drama in favor of procedural fidelity and institutional realism. The real issue is not what this video is, but whether our default explanation is actually sufficient. Whatever this footage is, it simply does not behave like a conventional hoax.